we're going to be talking about the power of Paraiba tourmaline. And everybody wants to know, what is it? Why is it called Paraiba? Where does it come from? And why is it so special? I'm going to be covering those questions, giving you the answers in my talk. And coming round is an original piece of Paraiba tourmaline from Brazil that is in the host rock. So you'll see that it's literally a chunk out of the earth, and it's quite rare to have it. And when you look at it, it also makes you appreciate how pure a crystal must be to be gem quality to make jewellery. Because this is, you couldn't really make any jewellery from it. It's more of a specimen to look at and enjoy. So in the 1900s, we were lucky enough to have 5 new gemstones. And the first one was kunzite, then morganite, tanzanite, mandarin garnet, and then Paraiba tourmaline. So those were all new gemstones, newly discovered in the 1900s. And I'm just going to run through the different gemstones, and finally the Paraiba tourmaline, which has been the outstanding star of all new gemstones. So kunzite is actually called spodumene, and obviously if you're trying to sell a gemstone and market it, a name like spodumene is not very attractive. It was discovered in 1902, and it's been called kunzite in honour of George Frederick Kunz, who was an American mineralogist and a buyer for Tiffany's, and he wrote the very famous book Curious Law of Precious Stones in 1913. And if you go on the internet and you go into forgotten books, you'll be able to find a copy there. Have you read it?
Oh, yes.
Yes. So it's an amazing, amazing book, and it was the first book really to engage everybody's attention and to talk about gemstones, all of the sort of folklore around gemstones, whether crystals are healing or special. It's an amazing book if you ever get to look it up. So morganite was discovered in 1910, a new locality for rose pink beryl. Actually, morganite is part of the beryl family. So in the beryl family, the big brother is emerald, and then the younger brother of emerald would be aquamarine, and their little sister was pink beryl. And then with this new beautiful pink beryl being found in Madagascar in 1910, Mr. Kunz, Professor Kunz, proposed that they call it morganite in honour of his friend and customer J.P. Morgan, of the banking family J.P. Morgan. And in fact, his Curious Law of Precious Stones was dedicated to Pierpont Morgan. And in this picture here, you can see blue aquamarine and the pink aquamarine known as morganite. It's a sort of salmon pink and very pretty. And then this is one of the most famous ones that we would remember, and this is tanzanite that was discovered in 1967. And nobody really knew what it was. And some people say that it was discovered by a wandering Maasai warrior. He found some pebbles at his feet. Another claim is that this Manuel de Souza, who apparently was known as Mad Manuel, discovered this beautiful crystal, and he also didn't know what it was, and they thought it was olivine. It went to New York, GIA New York, and the Tanzanian geologist identified the crystal as the mineral zoisite. And again, zoisite is a bit like spodumene, it doesn't sound that great. So it was called tanzanite and promoted by Tiffany's. Apparently the buyers of Saks, Fifth Avenue, decided they didn't really trust it, they didn't know what it was, but Tiffany's decided that it would be the new gem that they could launch in the 1970s. So since then, tanzanite has grown in popularity. this one is sort of my favourite, and this is a garnet, and Spessartite garnet was discovered in Spessart in Bavaria, Germany. But new deposits of this intense Fanta orange colour were discovered in Nigeria and Namibia, and it's termed Mandarin garnet. And when it was discovered, there was quite a large deposit in Nigeria and Namibia, and the market was not flooded, but there was plenty of rough in the market. But pretty soon both the mines were overmined, and now it's extremely rare on the market, and it's a collector's gemstone. That intense orange is very hard to find. I fell in love with it in about 2005 when I discovered it, and every year I've been doing a calendar for the last 18 years, and every year I've highlighted my favourite gem. And so in 2007 I featured the orange Spessartite garnet. And now we come to the star of tonight's talk, which is the Paraiba tourmaline. And it was only discovered in 1989 by Heitor Dimas Barbosa, if I'm saying that correctly. And he just had a hunch that he was going to find something very beautiful in a particular part of Paraiba state in Brazil. And it's actually extremely difficult to bring stones from mine to market. And when you don't have any funding and you just have a hunch, there's a lot of digging and a lot of hard work and a lot of disappointment. But at some point he found some amazing blue crystals. And again, nobody quite knew what they were. And they first appeared at the Tucson Gem Show, which is on every year, sort of January, February. And when they first appeared, people sort of, well, what is it? Is it synthetic? Is it a simulant? What is it? So again, it was tested, and it was found to be a rare type of tourmaline. And the prices at the show jumped from $250 US per carat to $2,500, literally within 6 days. People were sort of going crazy for this stone. After 1989, actually new deposits were discovered in Nigeria and also in Mozambique. And what happened was about 300 million years ago, the continents were together. And then with plate tectonics and shifting of land masses, the South American land mass and the African land mass separated. But you have similar geological conditions. So you can go across the latitudes and hopefully you will find similar geological sort of things going on from in the earth in those places. So there were similar minerals. And this was my calendar in 2008. So I bought my first Paraiba, which I'm wearing, in 2004, because I've been reading and researching, and all I wanted was a Paraiba. So I was looking everywhere for a Paraiba. And I was always fascinated with Brazilian gemstones, so aquamarines, rubelites, and I knew quite a few of the Brazilian dealers who back in the day were having a hard time trying to sell their gemstones because nobody wanted them in Hong Kong. Everybody wanted ruby, sapphire, emerald, jade, diamonds, of course, everybody wants diamonds, and South Sea pearls, but people didn't really want rubelite, indicolite, watermelon, all the beautiful tourmalines, which I wanted and I was fascinated by. So I was very lucky to be able to find the gemstones I wanted. And I kept saying to the Brazilian dealers, have you got a Paraiba, have you got a Paraiba? And I finally found this Paraiba in 2004. And I think I looked it up just before I came this evening, and I think it was $24,000 Hong Kong. and it's completely clear, and it's 2 carat something. So, you know, and I thought, oh my goodness, it's so expensive, how can I afford it? You know, because everything's relative. It wasn't I was so rich I can buy loads. It was, I really want it, and can I afford it? So they were the covers of the calendar in 2008. And this is what I said in 2008. The hottest collector's gemstone in the world, a limited supply of this rare tourmaline, is available only to investors with deep pockets. And I was saying that in 2008. And I was saying that to all my customers and all my friends. If you want to invest in a gemstone for its beauty and also for its rarity, look at Paraiba. But of course, everybody was, oh, semi-precious. Or in Hong Kong, they'd say, oh, Silangai, nobody wants it, cheap, you know. So it's the sort of thing that if you research and you're a collector and you're always looking for something, you fall in love with a gemstone, and then you have to have it by the right book, however you can. And as I say here, colour is the motive, and choosing a gemstone is personal. Each colour is different and distinctive. And I think for collectors, you buy for what you fall in love with. An investor is a different story. An investor, to realise your investment, you must sell it. So most gem lovers and jewellery wearers actually love their jewellery and their gems, and they don't really want to sell it. So my advice always is buy what you fall in love with, and it doesn't have to be the best, because the best is what other people are telling you. This is 2009, and I designed cobweb, and these are the Brazilian Paraibas I made back in the day. And again, I talked about the Paraibas. So this one is here that you can have a look at. This is the mahjong that I'm wearing. Again, I couldn't resist that one. And you'll see, so I said today's gifts are tomorrow's heirlooms. We invest in the jewels that attract and inspire us, knowing we'll pass them on someday. So that is here. And this, if you've been able to look at the crystal rough that's been going round, you'll see that those are watermelon slices of that crystal rough. So it's that natural pink and the blue, and in fact all of it is copper bearing, cuprian, elbite tourmaline. So there will be manganese, vanadium, and copper, even the red and the pink. But actually, nobody really would. It takes a designer's eye to do something with it, you know, because otherwise you look at it and you think, well, that's not so special. You know, it's full of inclusions, it's dense, etc. So, where was this amazing gemstone discovered? So, as we said, it's discovered in 1989 by this gentleman, and it was a disused open cast mine in the pegmatite hills in Paraiba state. So that's the Paraiba state of Brazil, and in fact there is another mine up in Rio Grande do Norte. They discovered one there, and it's around here. So the two main mines are the Batalha and the Paraiba mines, and the Batalha mine has produced more electric blue, and the Paraiba has produced more electric green. I think I've got that the right way round. And for a gemologist, there's no better. Well, why is blue better than green, and why is green better than blue? Actually, for me, both are equally beautiful, and it's just the mixture of vanadium, manganese, and copper that creates the different colours. So this is one of the mines, and you can see that this is just like our crystal rough that's been going around. And there's still the knife there, people are literally digging it out. And you can also see that while these are beautiful crystal specimens, they are not suitable for jewellery. You couldn't actually make very much out of them, except for the clover pendant that I made. These are very lovely, but you're going to be a bit disappointed if that's all you find in the mine, because people aren't going to spend a lot of millions of dollars on this sort of quality. This is 2001 in Nigeria, near Ibadan, and actually I lived in Nigeria for 7 years, and if I had known that there were Paraiba tourmalines in Nigeria in those days, but actually it's the classic thing of when there's new discoveries of gemstones in mines, the best always leaves the country. You know, it goes, you've got people who are investing in the rough, it leaves Africa, it leaves Brazil, it leaves wherever, and it goes to the cutters, the investors, the cutters, and then the cut stones find their way to the dealers, and so on and so on. There's this whole, as I said, mine to market chain that goes on. And then Mozambique, which is just amazing because so many fabulous gemstones come from Mozambique. And actually, there are more and more gems coming from Africa now. In the old days, it was Brazil, Colombia, Afghanistan, Kashmir, Sri Lanka. And now, with all the investment in China, the geologists have gone in, prospecting the land, and then people are buying up the land, putting in the huge machinery that's involved, and all the manpower to actually make a mine. And then you've got to hope you find something. So it's an extremely risky business, mining, on every level. And in fact, the man who is mostly responsible for this tourmaline in Mozambique is a Ghanaian, and he went to Mozambique and was thinking to find the tourmalines, but in amongst the tourmalines they found some electric neon glowing tourmalines. So they thought, aha, what have we got here? And they realised that when they tested these glowing tourmalines, they did the same chemical composition and had the same mineralogy as the Brazilian ones. So then a lot of the Mozambique and Nigerian and Brazilian all got muddled up together. So you could be buying a parcel and the dealer could say this is Brazilian, but actually it could be a whole mix of others. And actually, how to tell them apart is very, very difficult, and this is where I'll talk a bit more about that later, but it's why is one country better or worse than another country? For a geologist, you would just be looking at the purity of the gemstone. You wouldn't say that, well, that bit of earth is better because it came in from Brazil, and that bit of earth is better because it came from Mozambique. Sort of, why is one bit of earth better than another? Anyway, so what is a tourmaline? So a Paraiba tourmaline is actually a complex boron silicate. So it's a silicate, it's complex, it has many different colouring atoms in it, including iron, manganese, chrome, vanadium. And the amazing thing about this particular tourmaline is it's a Cuprian elbite tourmaline, and Cuprian stands for copper, which the atomic number is 29, and it's Cu. So Cuprian comes from cuprum, which is Latin. And this copper is an amazing heat conductor. So if you think of copper pipes, anything with copper, it's going to attract the heat and warm up. So this copper, and actually copper is a heavy metal. So it's very rare for this heavy metal to be in a crystalline structure. Copper is in turquoise, and turquoise is a cryptocrystalline structure. It's a bit like a rock, but it's also a bit like a crystal. It's sort of 50-50. And the beautiful colours of turquoise, the turquoise blues and greens, are due to copper. And no other actual gemstone has copper in it, apart from this amazing tourmaline discovered, first of all in Brazil, then Nigeria and Mozambique. And it is this copper in the complex silicate that is creating this intense, fabulous fire of colour, the blues and the greens. So literally, manganese colours violets and reds, vanadium is greens, and it's the mix that causes all the different colours. So tourmaline actually is the most colourful gemstone, and the word tourmaline comes from tourmaline, which is Sri Lankan for rainbow stone. And tourmalines have always been mistaken for something else. So in the sort of Renaissance times, 1500s, 1400s, everything that was red they thought was a ruby. So spinels they thought were rubies. Rubellite tourmaline is called rubellite because everybody thought it was a ruby. It's not, but it looks like. And the greens, people thought maybe they were emeralds. So tourmaline has always been valued, but it's always been under the radar because for years people thought it was something else. And actually, tourmalines are extremely unusual out of all the gemstones because of the iron content. They have a natural magnetism. So this word here, ashen-trekker, means an ash puller. And in the 1700s, 1600s, when the Dutch were busy discovering all these new lands, and the Dutch East India Company were in Sri Lanka and Indonesia, and they discovered all these tourmalines, black tourmaline, which was called shawl. And they would take it back to Holland, rub it, and it became warm, and it would pull the ash out of the pipes. Bizarre, right? But that's one of the properties of a tourmaline. It heats up and it would pull the ash out of these long pipes. They're called nearshore pipes, and it was the tourmaline, the black tourmaline, which is full of iron, was called an ashen-trekker. And in fact, blue tourmaline, which does not have copper in, is called indicolite, and indicolite is the only blue crystal gem that also can draw iron filings. You can do a drag test as a gemologist, and it will draw. It's magnetic. And the piezoelectric is the fact that one end of the tourmaline is positive and the other end is negative. So there is an electrical field going around from one end to the other. So that's piezoelectric. And many people talk about crystal healing, and in fact, man has thought that stones and crystals have had special powers since literally the Stone Age. So every single nationality, country, everybody has always loved crystals and thought of crystal healing. So I just wondered if there was somebody outside wanting to come in. So in fact, actually, a tourmaline, you could say, has a lot of crystal healing because it has electricity going around it, and it has a pull, a magnetic pull, which is rare in gemstones. So this amazing tourmaline that no one had ever seen before became called a Cuprian elbite tourmaline. It's still a tourmaline, but the copper within it has taken this gemstone to a new level. It's not changed its atomic structure, it's still a tourmaline, but the element of copper in its structure has made it glow, and even in the dark it can glow because it sort of attracts the heat and sort of glows at you. So I think my tourmalines will be glowing at you, my Paraibas. You can see them across the room. Once you've seen them, you don't forget them. So this is from the first crystals that they found in Paraiba, and it was that unbelievable blue. Actually, that almost looks like a tanzanite blue, but that is the blue. And then here you can see how the blue is turning into colourless and then into the greens. So it just depends, as the crystal is growing, which colouring elements are coming in and out of the crystal. And that all depends on what was going on in the ground at the time while they were growing over 300 million years. So a bit of vanadium, a bit of chromium, a bit of iron, a bit of whatever is coming. And that just was a little, thing that we found, 192 carats. So, and that's the largest cut tourmaline. A bit later on, I'm going to show you a large cabochon tourmaline, which is not quite 192 carats, but it's still quite large. So this copper-bearing elbite tourmaline, actually it's AIT, and that is the piece of rough that you've seen. And then I also have brought to show you this, which is that amazing blue, and that again is in the host rock from Brazil. And then these are slices. So these would be Paraiba slices, and what can you do with them in terms of jewellery? Not too much, but I sort of get them out, look at them, play with them, then put them back in the box and just enjoy looking at them. This is a, when I saw these, I wanted to collect them because I thought they were so amazingly unusual. And that is the mix of sort of raspberry pink and blue of the original Brazil Paraiba, which is a better quality than the crystal rough that you've seen. This again is the cabochons from Paraiba. They're very dense, so there is no sparkle, but they're a dense colour. And again, I find them very interesting as specimens, but actually you could make design jewellery with these. This is a whopper. It's enormous. So this is a Paraiba cabochon. It's 154 carats, and it's about that size, I guess, something like that size. And if anybody would like to look at it, let me know, because we didn't bring it this evening, but it's part of my collection. These beautiful, clear, fabulous Paraibas are from Mozambique, and what is very special about these is the cutting. So they're calibrated, and to be able to do that, to have a run of calibrated gemstones, they all need to come from the same crystal rough, and you have a tremendous amount of wastage. Most gemstones, as we know, are cut according to the crystal rough, so that you can get the most amount of cut stones. These were cut in Germany, and these are part of a crystal rough that they had, and these were, you can't really commission anybody to do this, you just have to find them, and it's very rare for any cutters to cut like this because there's so much wastage. and then as a buyer you have to pay for the wastage. So if a gemstone is that big and you cut it to a perfect cutting and it ends up that big, you're still paying for that size. So the more perfect the cut, the more expensive the gemstone. This is the Paraiba and the Spessartite together, and I think the colours just zing. And just beautiful. But it takes a confident woman to wear those colours.